Have you ever started a new journey feeling incredibly motivated, only to lose steam halfway through? Have you set ambitious goals at the beginning of the year, only to watch them fade into the background as months pass by? Why is it that some people seem to achieve their dreams effortlessly, while others struggle despite working relentlessly? The answer might not be what you expect. For as long as we can remember, society has drilled one idea into our minds: work harder, do more, push yourself to the limit, and you will succeed. But what if this mindset is precisely what's holding us back? What if the key to success is not about doing more, but about doing less? This idea may seem contradictory at first, but Buddhist wisdom teaches us that true success comes not from adding more, but from removing what is unnecessary. In other words, it's not about how much you do, it's about doing the right things and letting go of distractions that pull you away from what truly matters. Imagine a sculptor staring at a massive block of marble. His goal is not to add more clay or material to shape the masterpiece. Instead, he removes everything that is unnecessary until the true form of the sculpture emerges. The same applies to our lives. The more we cut away distractions, unnecessary commitments, and self-imposed pressures, the clearer our path to success becomes. But before we dive into the profound wisdom that Buddhism offers on this subject, let me share a story with you, a story that might completely change how you see success and personal growth. Number 1. The Monk and the Overloaded Man. There was once a wealthy businessman who was constantly overwhelmed with work. He was respected in society, but deep inside, he felt unfulfilled. No matter how much he worked, success always seemed just out of reach. One day, exhausted and frustrated, he visited a Buddhist monastery in search of guidance. He approached the head monk and asked, "Master, I work harder than anyone I know, yet I feel stuck. What am I doing wrong?" The monk smiled and handed him a large clay pot. He then gave him a pile of rocks and said, "Fill this pot with as many rocks as you can." The businessman carefully placed large rocks into the pot until no more could fit. "Is the pot full?" the monk asked. "Yes, master. It's completely full." The monk then picked up a handful of pebbles and poured them into the pot. The pebbles slid into the spaces between the rocks. "Now is it full?" the monk asked again. The businessman hesitated. "I suppose it is." Smiling, the monk grabbed a bowl of sand and poured it into the pot. The sand filled even the tiniest gaps between the pebbles. "Now it's full," the monk said. Finally, he took a cup of water and poured it in. The water soaked into the sand. The businessman was astonished. "Master, what does this mean?" he asked. The monk explained. "The large rocks represent the most important things in your life: your purpose, your values, your spiritual path. The pebbles are secondary priorities, like work and social commitments. The sand and water are all the little distractions that take up your time but do not bring true fulfillment. If you fill your pot with sand and water first, there will be no room for the big rocks." This is how most people live, filling their lives with unnecessary things, leaving no space for what truly matters. The businessman suddenly understood. He had been filling his life with unnecessary tasks, thinking that doing more would bring him success. In reality, he needed to prioritize what truly mattered and let go of the distractions. Number 2. The truth about doing more versus doing less. There is an illusion that modern society perpetuates, the belief that success is a direct result of how much effort we put in. From a young age, we are conditioned to think that if we just work harder, push ourselves further, and take on more responsibilities, we will eventually reach the life we desire. But why, then, do so many people burn out? Why do countless individuals set ambitious goals, only to feel overwhelmed and ultimately give up. The truth is, most people fail to achieve their dreams not because they lack ambition or effort, but because they lack focus. The story of the overloaded businessman reveals a critical flaw in the way most people approach success. He believed that doing more, taking on more work, responsibilities, and commitments, was the key to fulfillment. But as the monk demonstrated, when you fill your life with too many unnecessary things, there is no space left for what truly matters. This is a lesson that applies not only to external commitments but also to the way we structure our thoughts and energy. In reality, success is not about doing more, but about doing less with greater intention. When we divide our attention between too many pursuits, we dilute our energy. The human mind, much like a container, has limited capacity. If it is cluttered with distractions, stress, and trivial matters, there will be no room left for deep focus and meaningful growth. This is why we often hear stories of people who seem to be constantly busy but never actually move forward in life. They mistake activity for progress. The problem is not a lack of hard work but a lack of prioritization. People often waste enormous amounts of time on small, unimportant tasks while neglecting the things that could bring true fulfillment. They check emails obsessively, scroll endlessly through social media, or engage in mindless busy work, thinking that these small tasks contribute to their bigger goals. In truth, these distractions drain energy that could be used for something more meaningful. The Buddhist approach offers a solution to this trap: renunciation and mindful prioritization. Renunciation is often misunderstood. Many believe it means giving up everything and living in isolation, but in Buddhism, renunciation simply means letting go of what does not serve our higher purpose. The Buddha himself lived this principle to the fullest. Born as a prince with unlimited wealth, he had access to every comfort imaginable. Yet he recognized that material possessions did not bring lasting happiness. Instead of accumulating more, he made the radical decision to let go of what was unnecessary and focus only on what mattered: the pursuit of enlightenment. This principle applies to all of us. We may not be monks renouncing a royal palace, but we do have distractions in our lives that prevent us from focusing on what truly matters. Every day, we are faced with choices. Do we prioritize our growth, relationships, and well-being, or do we allow ourselves to be consumed by trivial obligations? When we hold on to things that do not serve us, whether it be unnecessary commitments, toxic relationships, or mindless distractions, we create unnecessary suffering. The key to achieving our dreams is to ask the right questions. Instead of focusing on how much we can accomplish, we should ask ourselves what is truly important. If we were to strip away all the noise, what would remain? These big rocks are the core values and goals that define our purpose. If we fail to identify them, we risk filling our lives with sand and water, small distractions that leave no room for what truly matters. Consider this: what are the big rocks in your life? What are the things that, if you focused on them every day, would bring you the greatest sense of fulfillment and meaning? It could be spiritual growth, personal development, nurturing relationships, or pursuing a passion that aligns with your purpose. Now, take a step further. What distractions can you remove to make space for those priorities? What habits, obligations, or thoughts are weighing you down? The answers to these questions determine whether you will remain stuck in a cycle of endless busyness or step onto a path of true success. The path to clarity and fulfillment requires us to unburden ourselves. Instead of chasing more, we must cultivate the wisdom to recognize what is truly essential. Only then can we move forward with intention, free from the distractions that keep us from realizing our highest potential. Number 3. The danger of unrealistic expectations. There is a common misconception that if we set high expectations for ourselves, we will be more likely to succeed. Society constantly reinforces this idea. Dream big, aim for the stars, never settle. But what happens when our expectations are far beyond what reality can provide? What happens when we expect perfection, immediate success, or an easy path with no obstacles? The truth is, unrealistic expectations do not lead to success, they lead to suffering. This lesson is beautifully illustrated in the story of the young monk who approached his master, frustrated with his lack of progress. He practiced diligently every day but still felt far from enlightenment. He expected that if he worked hard enough, he would achieve mastery quickly, becoming a great teacher like his master. But his master simply asked, "What do you expect?" The young monk's disappointment was not rooted in actual failure, but in the gap between his expectations and reality. His suffering came from his impatience, from his inability to accept that growth happens gradually, not instantly. The master's response was profound. A tree does not grow faster just because you demand it to. It grows naturally, little by little. This story reveals a fundamental truth about human nature. Our suffering is not always caused by external circumstances but by our internal resistance to reality. When we expect the world to move according to our timeline, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The problem is not that we have goals or ambitions, but that we become so attached to the outcome that we fail to appreciate the process. We measure our progress against an idealized version of success, and when we fall short, we feel inadequate, frustrated, and even hopeless. Unrealistic expectations manifest in many ways. Some people expect immediate success, believing that if they put in effort, they should see results right away. When progress is slow, they become discouraged and give up. Others expect perfection from themselves, thinking that any mistake is a sign of failure. This perfectionist mindset creates anxiety and prevents them from taking action because they fear falling short. Then there are those who expect life to unfold exactly as they imagined. When faced with obstacles, setbacks, or delays, they feel like the universe is against them, failing to recognize that challenges are a natural part of growth. The larger the gap between expectation and reality, the greater the suffering. Imagine two students studying for an important exam. One believes that if they study hard, they will get a perfect score. The other believes that studying will improve their understanding, but they accept that they might make mistakes. If both students score lower than expected, who will suffer more? The first student will likely feel like a failure, while the second will view it as a learning experience. The only difference between their reactions is their mindset. Their expectations shape their emotional response more than the actual result. Buddhism teaches us that attachment to expectations leads to suffering. The second noble truth states that suffering arises from craving, our desire for things to be different than they are. This craving applies not only to material desires but also to the expectations we place on ourselves and the world. When we rigidly hold on to how we think life should be, we resist a natural flow of change and growth. Enlightenment does not come from forcing things to happen on our terms, it comes from aligning ourselves with reality and embracing the journey, however long it may take. This does not mean that we should abandon our goals or stop striving for improvement. Ambition and motivation are valuable, but they must be balanced with acceptance. Instead of expecting immediate mastery, we should embrace the idea of progress, not perfection. The most effective way to grow is not by demanding instant results but by making small, consistent improvements over time. A musician does not become a virtuoso overnight, nor does a meditator reach enlightenment after a few sessions. Growth happens in stages, and patience is essential. A more practical approach is to cultivate moderate expectations. This means setting realistic goals that challenge us without setting us up for failure. It means understanding that setbacks are part of the process and that failure is not an endpoint but a lesson. It means shifting our focus from obsessing over the final outcome to appreciating each step along the way. When we free ourselves from the pressure of unrealistic expectations, we allow ourselves to learn, evolve, and succeed in ways we never imagined. Consider the life of the Buddha himself. Before attaining enlightenment, he spent years in deep meditation, facing hardships, doubts, and setbacks. He did not reach enlightenment the moment he decided to seek it. He went through a process of learning, failing, and refining his understanding. If even the Buddha had to go through this journey, why do we expect our own path to be free of struggle? The real solution is to change our relationship with expectations. Instead of clinging to a rigid vision of success, we should cultivate a mindset of openness and adaptability. We should set goals, but we should also allow room for change, growth, and imperfection. We should challenge ourselves while also practicing self-compassion. When we release the need for everything to happen according to our timeline, we create space for genuine progress and fulfillment. In every journey, there will be moments of doubt, failure, and frustration. But these are not signs that we are incapable or unworthy. They are simply part of the process. The young monk in the story was not failing, he was growing, even if he did not realize it yet. And so are we. Growth does not always feel like progress. Sometimes, it feels like struggle, uncertainty, and discomfort. But just like the tree that grows little by little, our development is happening beneath the surface, even when we cannot see it. When we let go of the need for perfection, when we embrace progress instead of demanding immediate success, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. This is the wisdom that Buddhism offers, a path not of force, but of flow. A path not of attachment, but of acceptance. And in this acceptance, we find true peace. Number 4, the power of small, consistent changes. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, people often believe that transformation must happen quickly. The desire for overnight success, rapid personal growth, and immediate results drives many to abandon their efforts when they don't see quick progress. This impatience, however, contradicts the natural rhythm of life. Real transformation, whether it be in personal development, spiritual growth, or success, happens gradually, not instantly. The Buddha understood this deeply, which is why he taught that wisdom, virtue, and enlightenment are cultivated step by step, not in one grand moment of realization. One of the most powerful metaphors used in Buddhist teachings is that of the goldsmith refining gold. The Buddha once said, by degrees, little by little, from moment to moment, a wise man removes his own impurities, just as a goldsmith removes dross from gold. This imagery is profound because it acknowledges that purification and self-improvement do not happen all at once. A goldsmith does not take a lump of gold and instantly turn it into a perfect, shining ornament. Instead, they meticulously heat, shape, and refine the metal, removing its impurities little by little. The process requires patience, precision, and consistency. The same principle applies to self-improvement. True change happens through small, consistent efforts over time. Many people set ambitious goals, thinking that if they overhaul their entire life overnight, they will achieve greatness. They start new routines with intense enthusiasm, only to burn out after a few days or weeks. This pattern is common in everything from fitness to meditation, from learning new skills to adopting better habits. People expect that drastic changes will yield immediate results, but when reality does not match their expectations, they become discouraged and quit. This is because they misunderstand the nature of progress. The key to real, lasting transformation lies in small, consistent changes. Instead of trying to meditate for an hour each day and failing after 3 days, one should start with just 5 minutes and gradually increase it. Instead of attempting to read an entire book in one sitting, Reading just one page a day creates a sustainable habit. Instead of attempting to change an entire diet overnight, making one healthier choice per day builds momentum. These small shifts may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, they compound into profound transformation. There is a reason why this approach works. It aligns with how the human brain forms habits. The mind resists drastic change because it disrupts familiar patterns. But when changes are introduced in small, manageable increments, the brain adapts without triggering resistance. This is why people who commit to small, gradual changes are more likely to sustain their progress than those who attempt radical transformations overnight. In Buddhism, the middle way emphasizes balance and gradual progress. The Buddha did not attain enlightenment by forcing extreme ascetic practices upon himself. In fact, he abandoned severe self-denial after realizing that true wisdom lies in steady, mindful progress. The middle way teaches that lasting transformation comes from consistency, not from extremes. Consider how nature operates. A tree does not grow into its full height overnight. The sun does not suddenly rise into the sky. It gradually illuminates the horizon, bringing light little by little. Rivers carve through mountains over thousands of years, not in an instant. Everything in nature evolves gradually, and human growth is no exception. The belief that one must achieve everything at once contradicts the very essence of how life unfolds. This principle applies to all aspects of life, whether spiritual practice, career advancement, relationships, or personal development. A person who dedicates just a few minutes each day to self-improvement will, over the years, accomplish far more than someone who makes grand but unsustainable efforts. The secret is not in sudden, intense bursts of energy, but in the quiet, persistent accumulation of small victories. Some of the greatest successes in history were built on this principle. Great athletes do not become champions by training for a single intense week. They train consistently for years. The most respected scholars do not gain wisdom overnight. They study a little each day, accumulating knowledge steadily. Even the Buddha's own journey to enlightenment was not immediate. It was the result of years of reflection, discipline, and gradual realization. In today's fast-paced world, many people struggle with patience. The pressure to achieve instant results makes them blind to the power of slow, steady progress. But those who embrace the wisdom of small, consistent changes find themselves transforming in ways they never imagined. They wake up one day realizing they are healthier, wiser, and more at peace, not because of one dramatic shift, but because of the accumulation of daily efforts. The lesson here is simple. Do not underestimate the power of small steps. A single drop of water may seem insignificant, but over time, it can carve through stone. A single mindful breath may feel trivial, but it can lead to a lifetime of peace. The smallest efforts, repeated consistently, shape the greatest transformations. Success, happiness, and enlightenment are not destinations reached through sudden leaps. They are paths walked step by step, moment by moment, just as the goldsmith refines gold, not all at once, but with patient and persistent care. True success is not about constantly doing more, it's about doing what truly matters. When we remove distractions, let go of unrealistic expectations, and embrace steady, meaningful progress, we create space for real transformation. The world teaches us that more effort equals more results, but the reality is that clarity, intention, and consistency lead to lasting success. Every great achievement is built on small, daily improvements, not sudden leaps. Instead of chasing quick wins, focus on sustainable growth. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by everything you think you should do, focus on what actually moves your life forward. Success is not measured by how much you accomplish in a day, but by how aligned your actions are with your purpose. Happiness doesn't come from checking off endless tasks, it comes from appreciating the process, embracing the present moment, and trusting that each step, no matter how small, is shaping you into a better version of yourself. Every decision you make, every habit you build, and every moment you dedicate to your growth adds up to something powerful. Learn a little, apply a little, and improve a little every single day. Now, I invite you to take action. What is one thing you can remove from your life today to create more space for what truly matters? What small, consistent step can you commit to that will lead to long-term success? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's inspire each other to build a life of purpose and fulfillment. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content on mindfulness, success, and spiritual growth. Your journey starts now. Make it meaningful. May you all find peace, happiness, and success in your journey.